Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the English Speaking Nerds channel. We are so excited to have you here with us today. I'm Maya.
And I'm John. This is where we go beyond the textbook and explore how English is actually used in the real world. The slang, the professional jargon, the subtle meanings that make all the difference.
Exactly. If you're serious about mastering English that opens doors in your career, please hit that like button and subscribe to English Speaking Nerds. Every subscription helps us create more content like this.
It really does. And speaking of careers, that's exactly what we're diving into today.
Today's topic is something that comes up constantly in English conversation, talking about your job. But we're not going to teach you to just say, I am a teacher or I work in marketing. We're going deeper than that.
Much deeper. We're talking about how to describe what you actually do, how to discuss workplace culture, how to explain why you love or hate your job, and how to navigate those tricky questions at networking events without sounding boring.
And stay with us until the end because we're going to discuss something really important. The relationship between your job and your identity. It gets philosophical, but I think it's something everyone thinks about.
Absolutely. So let's jump right in. Maya, here's a question I hear all the time at parties, at conferences, on airplanes. So what do you do?
The dreaded question. And it's interesting because in English-speaking cultures, especially in the US, this question comes up really early in conversation. Sometimes it's literally the second thing people ask after, "What's your name?"
It is, and I think it makes some people uncomfortable because the question isn't really, what do you do? It's more like, who are you? Your job becomes your identity.
That's so true. But let's talk about how to answer this question well. If someone asks, what do? You shouldn't just give your job title. You should give context. So instead of saying, I'm an accountant, you might say, I'm an accountant at a tech startup, so I help manage our finances as we're growing really fast.
That's much more interesting. You've given them the title, the industry, and a little insight into what makes your role unique. And it opens up the conversation. Now they can ask about the startup world or about tech.
Exactly. We call this adding color to your answer. You paint a picture instead of just stating a fact.
Let's talk about vocabulary around different types of jobs. Because there are so many ways to describe employment status, and non-native speakers often get confused. Maya, what's the difference between full-time and part-time?
Good question. Full-time typically means you work around 40 hours per week, sometimes more. You're usually entitled to benefits like health insurance and paid vacation. Part-time means you work fewer hours, maybe 20 or 25 hours a week, and you often don't get the same benefits.
And then there's freelance or self-employed. If you're a freelancer, you work for yourself. You might have multiple clients, and you invoice them for your work. There's no steady paycheck, which can be scary, but also freeing.
Right. And we also have contract work, or being a contractor. This is when you work for a company for a specific period of time or for a specific project. You're not a permanent employee.
Gig work is another modern term. This usually refers to short-term, flexible jobs. Think Uber drivers, food delivery, TaskRabbit. It's work that you do gig by gig.
And then there's the difference between salaried and hourly. If you're salaried, you get paid a fixed amount per year divided into paychecks. If you're hourly, you get paid for each hour you work.
The hourly workers often have to clock in and clock out, meaning they literally record when they start and stop working.
Now let's talk about job titles. This is where things get really interesting because job titles have become increasingly creative and sometimes confusing.
Oh, absolutely. When I was younger, jobs had simple names: manager, secretary, sales representative. Now everyone is a chief happiness officer or a marketing ninja.
Marketing ninja. I've seen that one. There's definitely been title inflation in the corporate world. Title inflation is when job titles sound more important than they actually are.
Right. Someone might be called a senior vice president, but they're managing a team of 2 people. Or you see executive in the title, and it sounds fancy, but it might just be a regular position.
I think it's important for English learners to know that when someone tells you their title, you should ask, what does that actually involve? Or what does a typical day look like for you? Because titles can be misleading.
Great advice. So let's break down a typical answer to that question. Say I'm a software engineer. Instead of just saying I write code, I might say I'm a back-end engineer, which means I work on the server side of applications. My day usually involves writing code, debugging issues, and collaborating with the front-end team.
Perfect. You've explained the specialization, back end versus front end, and you've described your daily tasks using strong verbs, writing, debugging, collaborating.
Verbs are key. When describing your job, you want action verbs. I manage a team. I analyze data. I develop strategies. These are much stronger than I am responsible for.
Although I'm responsible for is grammatically correct, it sounds passive. In professional English, we want to sound proactive and engaged.
Exactly. Now, Maya, what about describing the company you work for? How do you give someone a quick sense of where you work?
You want to mention the industry first. I work in healthcare, or I work in finance, or I work in education. Then you can specify the type of company. Is it a startup, a multinational corporation, a nonprofit organization?
Startup versus corporate is a huge cultural distinction. If you work at a startup, the implication is that it's fast-paced, probably casual dress code, maybe uncertain job security, but potentially exciting growth.
Right, and if you work at a corporate job, meaning a large established company, the implication is structure, hierarchy, stability, but maybe less flexibility.
Let's talk about hierarchy for a moment, because workplace structure is really important in English-speaking business culture. At the top, you have the C-suite. Do you know what that means?
Yes, the C-suite refers to the top executives whose titles start with chief. So you have the CEO, Chief Executive Officer, who runs the company. The CFO, Chief Financial Officer, manages money. The COO, Chief Operating Officer, handles operations.
And now there are even more. Chief Technology Officer, Chief Marketing Officer, Chief People Officer. It seems like everyone is a chief these days.
Below the C-suite, you have upper management or senior management. These are your VPs, directors, senior directors. They make strategic decisions.
Then you have middle management, your managers and team leads. They're the ones who translate strategy into action and manage day-to-day operations.
And at the base, you have individual contributors or ICs. These are people who don't manage others but do the actual work. Engineers, designers, analysts, salespeople.
Understanding this hierarchy is important because when you describe your job, you might say, I report to the VP of marketing, or I manage a team of 5 developers. This gives people context about your level and responsibilities.
Absolutely. Now, let's talk about something that comes up a lot. Job satisfaction. How do you express whether you like your job or not in sophisticated English?
This is tricky because you don't always want to be completely honest, especially in professional settings. But there are ways to be diplomatic.
If you love your job, you might say, I find my work really fulfilling, or I'm passionate about what I do. Fulfilling is a great word. It means the work gives you a sense of purpose or satisfaction.
You could also say, I find the work challenging in a good way, or I'm constantly learning and growing. These phrases show enthusiasm without sounding naive.
Now, if you're not happy with your job but don't want to complain, you can use softer language. It's not quite the right fit for me, or I'm exploring other opportunities.
Not the right fit is perfect corporate speak for I don't like it here. Another phrase is I'm ready for a new challenge, which implies you're bored but frames it positively.
And if you really dislike your job, you might say, in a casual setting, I'm just not passionate about it anymore, or I feel like I've hit a ceiling, meaning there's no room for advancement.
I've hit a ceiling or I've plateaued. Both mean your growth has stopped. You're stuck.
Let's discuss some common complaints people have about their jobs, because this vocabulary is really useful. What's a big one?
I'm underpaid. This means you don't earn enough money for the work you do. The opposite would be, I'm well compensated, or the pay is competitive.
Competitive pay means the salary is in line with industry standards. It's what you'd expect to earn for that role in that market.
Another common complaint, there's no work-life balance. This means the job demands so much time and energy that you can't have a personal life.
Or you might say, the hours are brutal, or I'm constantly working overtime. Overtime is when you work beyond your regular hours, and sometimes you get paid extra for it, but sometimes you don't.
I feel undervalued is another big one. This means you don't feel appreciated or recognized for your contributions.
The opposite would be, I feel valued, or my boss really recognizes my efforts. Recognition is so important for job satisfaction.
What about office politics? That's a huge topic.
Oh, office politics. This is the unspoken social dynamics and power struggles in a workplace. It's not about the actual work. It's about personalities, alliances, gossip, and maneuvering for favor or promotion.
If someone says there's a lot of office politics, they mean the environment is stressful because you have to navigate relationships carefully. You can't just do your job, you have to play the game.
And that game can involve things like brown-nosing or kissing up to the boss, which means excessively flattering them to gain favor.
We also say someone is a yes man if they always agree with the boss, even when they shouldn't.
On the flip side, you have the office gossip, the person who spreads rumors and talks about everyone behind their back.
Toxic behavior. And speaking of toxic, let's talk about toxic work environments. This is when the workplace culture is actively harmful, whether it's through bullying, discrimination, unreasonable demands, or just a generally negative atmosphere.
If someone says the culture is toxic, that's a red flag. Culture is everything. You can have a great job title and good pay, but if the culture is bad, you'll be miserable.
Absolutely. Let's pivot to something more positive. What about when you love your job because of the perks? Perks are the extra benefits beyond salary.
Great question. Common perks include flexible hours, meaning you can adjust your schedule. Maybe you start at 10 a.m. instead of 9 a.m., or you can leave early if you need to.
Remote work or work from home is a massive perk now. The pandemic changed everything. If you can work remotely, you save commute time and have more autonomy over your environment.
Other perks might include unlimited PTO, that's paid time off, meaning vacation days. Though I've heard unlimited PTO can be tricky because people sometimes take less time off, not more.
That's true. It's a psychological thing. If there's no limit, you feel guilty taking time off. But on paper, it sounds great.
Some companies offer stock options, which means you can buy company stock at a discount. If the company does well, you make money.
Or bonuses, extra money you earn based on performance. I got a year-end bonus, or I hit my targets, so I earned a bonus.
Professional development opportunities are another perk. This means the company pays for you to take courses, attend conferences, or get certifications.
And then there are the fun ones. Free snacks in the office, gym memberships, team outings. These are sometimes called lifestyle perks.
Although, let's be honest, free snacks don't make up for bad management or low pay.
No, they don't. You can't pay rent with free kombucha, as they say. Or maybe no one says that except me, but you get the point.
I get the point. All right, let's talk about career trajectory. How do you discuss where you're going, not just where you are?
Good topic. You might say, I'm looking to move up, or I'm aiming for a promotion. A promotion is when you advance to a higher position with more responsibility and usually more pay.
You could also say, I'm working toward becoming and state your goal. I'm working toward becoming a senior manager, or I'm working toward a leadership role.
If you're moving sideways instead of up, that's called a lateral move. It means you switch to a different role at the same level, maybe to gain new skills or change departments.
And if you're just starting out, you might say, I'm trying to get my foot in the door. This idiom means you're trying to enter an industry or company, even if it's at an entry-level position.
Entry level versus senior level. Entry level positions are for people with little to no experience. Senior level positions require years of experience and expertise.
Sometimes people talk about climbing the corporate ladder. This is a metaphor for moving up through the ranks of a company, step by step, toward higher positions.
But not everyone wants to climb the ladder. Some people prefer to specialize rather than manage. They become experts in their field without taking on managerial duties.
That's called an IC track, individual contributor track, as opposed to a management track.
Now, let's address something that's often awkward, talking about salary. In many cultures, it's taboo to discuss how much you earn, but in professional contexts, you sometimes need to.
Right. If you're negotiating a job offer, you might say, what's the salary range for this position? Or, I'm currently earning X and I'm looking for an increase.
When discussing pay, we use terms like base salary. That's your regular pay before bonuses or commissions. Then there's total compensation, which includes everything: salary, bonuses, stock, benefits.
You might also hear six figures, which means earning $100,000 or more per year. She's making six figures, means she earns a lot.
And if someone gets a raise, that means their pay increases. I just got a 10% raise.
Now let's talk about job searching, because that's a whole vocabulary set. If you're looking for a new job, you might say, I'm on the job market, or I'm exploring opportunities.
You apply for jobs. I applied for a position at Google. And if they're interested, they'll reach out or contact you for an interview.
The interview process can have multiple stages. First, there might be a phone screen, a brief call to see if you're a basic fit. Then you might have a technical interview if it's a specialized role, or a behavioral interview where they ask about your past experiences.
In behavioral interviews, they often ask, tell me about a time when questions. Tell me about a time when you faced a challenge at work. You're supposed to tell a story that demonstrates your skills.
After all the interviews, you might get an offer, a job offer, or you might get rejected or passed over, which means they chose someone else.
If you get multiple offers, you're in a great position to negotiate. You can ask for more money, more vacation days, or other benefits.
And once you accept a job, you have to give notice at your current job, usually 2 weeks. I'm putting in my 2 weeks means I'm quitting, and I'll work for 2 more weeks before I leave.
Then you start your new job and you go through onboarding, the process of getting trained and integrated into the company.
This is also a good time to talk about professional relationships. You have colleagues or coworkers, the people you work with. You might have a mentor, someone more experienced who guides you.
You might also have a work buddy or work friend, someone you genuinely like and hang out with, not just for professional reasons.
And then there's your boss or manager or supervisor. The relationship with your boss can make or break your job experience.
If you have a micromanager, that's someone who watches everything you do and won't let you work independently. Very frustrating.
The opposite is a hands-off manager who gives you freedom but maybe doesn't provide enough guidance.
Ideally, you want a manager who empowers you, gives you autonomy while supporting you.
Now, John, let's get into the deeper stuff. We talked about how people ask, what do you do? As if your job defines you. What do you think about that?
It bothers me, honestly. I think, especially in American culture, we're obsessed with productivity and achievement. Your worth as a person is tied to your job title or how much money you make.
I agree. And for English learners, this can be even more stressful. Maybe in your home country, your job is just one part of who you are. But in English-speaking countries, especially the US, it feels like it's everything.
And if you're between jobs or if you have a job that society doesn't value highly, you can feel ashamed. And they diminish their own work.
I'm just a barista. I'm just an assistant. The word just is so damaging. You're not just anything. Every job has value.
Absolutely. I think we need to separate our identity from our employment. You are not your job. Your job is something you do, not who you are.
That's beautifully said. And I think for anyone watching this who feels pressure about their career, remember, it's okay to have a job that pays the bills while you pursue other passions. It's okay to change careers. It's okay to not be ambitious all the time.
Yes, we talk about hustle culture and career-driven people, but rest is important. Balance is important. Not everyone needs to be a CEO.
And frankly, not everyone wants to be. Some people are perfectly happy in their roles. They don't want the stress of management or the pressure of leadership.
That's wisdom, not lack of ambition.
Exactly. All right, before we wrap up, let's give our audience some homework. We want to hear from you in the comments.
Yes, tell us about your job using the vocabulary we discussed today. Don't just say, I'm a teacher. Tell us, what kind of teacher are you? What do you love about it? What frustrates you? What are your career goals?
Use words like fulfilling, challenging, corporate, freelance, micromanager, whatever applies to your situation. Write a paragraph. Practice this sophisticated vocabulary.
And here's a second question. Do you think your job defines you? Or have you managed to separate your identity from your work?
These are big questions, but we read every comment, and we love hearing your perspectives from all over the world.
We really do. Your stories inspire us.
All right, that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you learned something new, please give us a thumbs up.
Share this video with anyone who's learning English or who's navigating their career. And subscribe if you haven't already.
Until next time, stay curious, stay nerdy, and remember, you are more than your job title.
Cheers, everyone.
Bye. Wait, John, we're still recording, right?
Yeah, the light's still on. What's up?
I just thought of something we didn't cover. Imposter syndrome in the workplace.
Oh, that's huge. Okay, for those who don't know, imposter syndrome is when you feel like a fraud at your job. Like you don't deserve to be there, and eventually everyone will figure out that you're not as competent as they think.
It's so common, especially among high achievers. You got the promotion, but you think it was luck. You finished the project, but you think someone else could have done it better.
I've felt this my entire career. I'll be in a meeting with people I admire, and I think, what am I doing here? I don't belong.
But here's the thing. Everyone feels this way sometimes. Even experts, even CEOs. It's not actually about your competence. It's about your self-perception.
And I think for people working in their second or third language, imposter syndrome is even worse. You're doing your job and translating in your head. That's exhausting.
Absolutely. So if you're watching this and you feel like a fraud, you're not. You earned your position. You have skills. Give yourself credit.
Easier said than done, but yes, self-compassion is key.
All right, now we're really done.
For real this time. Bye, everyone.
Take care.